I was wrong. This is where you use all the editing software and you just make the voice just get literally choppy and everything so that you can't hear the phrase that was just said. Maybe I'm going to black myself out so I can protect the guilty. I was wrong. That's a phrase that hardly nobody says anymore. And let's be honest, there's a lot of crazy things that are going on in the news today. I thought maybe I'll cover Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, that's not crazy. He's crazy creative. But I did want to say just a quick shout out. I know I'm kind of like a squirrel this morning. There's a lost this train of thought, but you guys know who Rev and Fox is? All right, Kendrick Lamar, you're where you're at. But on the next level, up above that is Rev and Fox. So representing the show today. Yeah, so a phrase that we can hardly say anymore these days is I was wrong. I was wrong about something. History has a good way of reminding us the fact that things have not always been in a linear trajectory of making right decisions, good decisions. We come to what is probably going to be one of the cataclysmic things of this summer. This whole overturning or at least severely restricting or whatever we're going to do to Roe versus Wade, an egregiously wrong decision that was made 50 years ago in our country. And we're going to suffer the consequences. We have suffered the consequences of that. But there's a lot of people who are coming out and trying to double down. You know, I'm married and I just want to do it. We're going to do group therapy today. If you're wrong about something, you might as well go ahead and say that you're wrong. Because if you double down, it's the Erskin Music Show. We'll get to that a little bit later. All right. Why are we talking about and why do I have the Beatles up on there? That's first of all. I was gonna have some of the Beatles music playing this morning, but didn't do it. Why are we talking about the Beatles? The Beatles will stay up there with me for a little bit longer because I got something to say about the Beatles. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. But now it seems as though they're here to stay. All right, so we'll get to the Beatles here in just a moment today. But I want to say good morning to all the folks that are out there. If you're watching the Erskin Music Show on any of the various platforms that we're going to mention here, or even more, some people have bootleg platforms that they're watching the Erskin Music Show from this morning, and I'm super excited about that. I left the live up there from StreamYard so that you guys know that I didn't pre-record this show. I'm in the studio right now, so if you have comments, go ahead and shoot your comments this direction. The snarkier, the better. All right, if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and or Twitter, please remember to subscribe to the channel and enable the notifications. All right. Yeah. We did very basic things this morning without the show coming off the rails. That's a call for celebration. But I wanted to mention a couple of historical notes that come to my attention as we get ready to cross another dividing line here in America with this overturning of Roe versus Wade, severely restricting, pushing back into the states the right to or against abortion. I figure we could go back in history and we could look at some other failed decisions this morning, and maybe we could all do a little bit of group therapy this morning and just learn how to say, I was wrong. Okay, we apologize for nothing. I get it. I get it. Why is there stuff that's leaking from the ceiling? Hopefully those aren't spiders that are dropping down. All right. So you're here, I'm here. And so let's talk about a couple of historical notes. The first that I would mention, and the reason why the Beatles are on the screen today is because when they saw my face, there's literally something that is leaking from my ceiling, but that's okay. As long as it doesn't get on the camera, we're going to demonstrate excellence in broadcasting this morning. I'm not going to pay attention to what is leaking from the ceiling, and I'm just going to keep looking into the camera today. We'll not be distracted at all. Neither will you. All right, so here's the deal. The Beatles. Many of you guys are very aware of who the Beatles are. It's a music show, the Erskin Music Show. So we're definitely going to talk about the Beatles, man. One of the greatest groups of all time. Decca Records. Man, this guy cannot catch a break. turned down the Beatles because they thought that the Beatles were not good enough. There was actually another group that they were looking at signing, trying to figure out who would appeal to the younger audience there. There were some travel considerations. If you go back and you read the story, it's really kind of crazy. I mean, it does kind of strike at this area of pragmatism. You put me in a room with a guy that's just a pure pragmatist, and I will absolutely go nuts. Because if you look at Erskine music and the trajectory of Erskine music, it is an upward climb, but it's up and down and all fishtailing all over the place. And people who are pragmatists, they like that smooth ascent. We make safe decisions. Beatles, too much of a risk. We got another group that we think would do a little bit better. They'll be able to travel a little bit better. We'll be able to save some costs there. They'll appeal to younger audiences. And you were wrong, buddy.
Apologize for nothing.
Okay, you want to apologize for nothing? All right. It's all good now. I don't think the Beatles are worried. And the ones that have passed away, I know they're not worried right now. All right. Good morning, Mayoshi. Glad you could be a part of the show today. I wanted to put some other folks that are up here. Let's do this. Let's do this. We have a Bible verse that is found in the notes today, but it is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. Be kind to one another, sympathetic, forgiving each other as God has forgiven you through Christ. And if you've watched the Erskin Music Show before, you know that I'm all about sharing Christ and trying to do that creatively. And if you guys are talking about a subject, I'm probably going to talk about it, but I'll put a little bit of spin on there. So hopefully yesterday, before Facebook blocked my aliens post there, YouTube thankfully didn't block that. That was a message that was all about the role of preaching and all about the role of sermons and all about what aliens would, if they didn't know anything else about this world and they just happened to land their spaceship over a sanctuary on Sunday morning and they saw this guy that was preaching, what would they think of it? And what would we explain that as? So yesterday that was all about, hopefully you're not looking in the sky for aliens. So Facebook, don't be worried about that. Today, we're going to talk about some historical failures. And one of those historical failures that I wanted to talk about today has to do with, where are we going? Beatles, what y'all want? Oh, yeah, here's a big epic fail. Let's do this. Let's make the Titanic big, since it was, and then me small for a second. But then I'm coming back and getting big again. All right. Too much technology. So yeah, you guys are aware of the story of the Titanic. You guys have seen Leonardo DiCaprio, and you've seen the movie probably more times than you will ever admit on a show like this. But the Titanic was described as the unsinkable ship. Had so many features, being able to pump the water out, being able to do all these different things, an architectural marvel that none could compare to. And so they decided they were going to skimp a little bit on this whole idea of lifeboats. Why do you need a lifeboat in a boat that doesn't sink? Logical question, logical flaw. If the boat can sink, you're in trouble. Oh,
Apologize for nothing.
You want to apologize for that one now? It gets a little bit sloppier as you go and read through history, because not only did they not have enough lifeboats for the people on the Titanic, could have rescued many more, but then they also, when the news was reported that everyone was saved. And so just a lot of misinformation, disinformation. And you have to remember that during that time, there was no cell phone. And so it wasn't like people could be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and post this to YouTube. The boat is kind of sinking. There's people that are playing here. I'm not really sure, but it seems like there's more water in here that's going to get pumped out. They weren't able to do that back then. And so there's this kind of misreporting. One, the Titanic is sinking. It'll be all right. It's not all right. Two, everybody was all right when we know they weren't all right. So there's the Titanic.
Apologize for nothing.
We don't want to apologize for that one. We're going to do it today, folks. Let's do it. Group therapy. We all need this. Everybody draw close to your screen. Let's do it today. I was... Okay, we'll go to the next story here in just a second. All right, so there's the Titanic. Hopefully you guys are tuning into you're asking me about Big Head. Okay, so Big Head is somewhere in the room, but Big Head is not pictured on the screen today. Instead, there's a Texas flag. Wonder why I would do that. All right.
Apologize for nothing.
I'm not apologizing for having a Texas flag on my show. I'm from Texas. You know how we do. We're all like this. And so Don't think that I'm unduly obnoxious on this show. It's just everybody from Texas has a deep sense of being from the promised land. All right, so we're going to continue going on here today. I've got two more, I think, that I want to share historical. I could have gone on and 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 on. Oh, yeah. So here we go. Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton. Here's one. What about this Sir Isaac Newton, who's apparently getting hit on the head with an apple? Did that really happen? Like, did he actually, the apple fall on his head? I don't think that's what actually happened. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. Oh, we've been led to believe. The story was so good when I was a child. I was just like, oh, that's how ironic. I wasn't necessarily thinking about the providence of God, but how ironic that he'd be sitting there and contemplating, apple fall right on his head, boop, bust his head. And then all of a sudden, he's like, gravity, something, some force, some innate nature has caused that to happen. And then we have all these scientific discoveries that result from the apple landing on head. Or even if it was an arm, that would have been a cool story. I mean, it would have kept me awake. And now that I'm writing curriculum and doing some things for my own kids in the area of education and history, there are so many videos that we have at our disposal these days that I would have loved to have. You know, I actually grew up at a time when we used to have to put that little reel. Raise your hand if you actually had to grow up in a time when they had that little reel and like you had to load it into the canister and like feed the film in there, and like you're like, oh, and it's like, oh, the Hindenburg. Oh, whoa, special effects. No, that really happened. So I vaguely remember that. It was okay. The reports are coming in all over the place. George Washington also did not chop down cherry tree. I don't know if we're gonna make it through the show today. You're messing with too much history. Anybody want to go back and apologize for that little historical misstep? All right, it's the Erskin Music Show, and for those of you who are watching today, you guys know this is a music show. One of the songs that I wanted to demonstrate today is a song called Frustration. We're so frustrated about different things, and on some things we should be very vigilant and very concerned about. But when we're wrong, let's go ahead and say that we're wrong. Like, that's so frustrating. When you're wrong, and then you know that you're wrong. I could have done Vietnam. I could have done the Bay of Pigs. I'm reading about all this history, and I'm like, oh, grievously, as I'm preparing American history for my kids and writing curriculum for them. I'm like, yeah, America, yeah, and that whole Richard Nixon thing. And okay, anyway, we're gonna play a song called Frustration. Hope you guys enjoy. It's the Erskin Music Show.
Frustration, things are really going down, down, down. Think it's time we talk about more than weather and try
All right. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and or Twitter, subscribe to the channel, enable the notifications. We are rocking this morning. And I want to say good morning to a couple folks that are out there today watching us on the Erskin Music Show. Yeah, I got a sister that is watching today. Okay, Brittany. Good morning. Good morning. And yeah, some more information. You're gonna call some people to reevaluate everything, telling us stuff like this morning, Mayoshi. Norma McCarvey, aka Roe of Roe versus Wade, was never raped, nor what did she want an abortion. Yeah, that's a matter of historical record. And on this show, help us with all the people who are watching today. We're going to say this together this morning. We need group therapy. Here we go, folks. I was wrong. Oh man, we finally said it here on this show.
Apologize for nothing.
We typically apologize for nothing, but I don't want to do one more story this morning. Oh, this is group therapy that we've all needed for a while. Let's do it. Come on, draw nigh. This hurt because I think I should get my grade changed. I got one of the ships wrong on my exam when I was in grade school. When I was a wee little lad in grade school, I got one of the ships wrong on the Christopher Columbus tour, and it was counted wrong. But apparently, we need to go back and revisit. I might be the valedictorian, so we'll go back and we'll check the records once we expunge all the bad grades that I got from this particular assignment. But the Nina, the Pinta, and the help me out, Santa Maria, they weren't the name of Christopher Columbus's actual ships. Whoops. Anybody want to apologize?
Apologize for nothing.
Nobody wants to apologize for that one or grading me wrong on that test. When it comes to Columbus, the only fact that history really got right is that he seems to have sailed in 1492. That's it. Hey, that's it. First of all, he didn't discover America. People had already been living in the continent for thousands of years. After all, he wasn't even the first European explorer in North America. The cruise of Vikings actually sailed to Canada around 1000 AD. After repeated names of his three ships, historically, they're not accurate. In the 15th century, most sailing ships weren't named after saints. So while the Santa Maria is probably the real name, the Nina and the Pinta were probably just casual sailors' nicknames or more piously vessels of the time. According to history.com, you go check it up with them. History.com has vindicated me. The Nina's real name was most likely the Santa Clara, while the Pinta's real name is unknown. All right, grade school teacher.
Apologize for nothing.
I'm waiting for an apology for marking that one wrong on the test. Even though I didn't know what the actual answer was supposed to be, there was no actual answer there. We were wrong. I was wrong. You know what? Before I close out the show today, thank you guys so much for participating. But here's the point. We are people, and this I'm speaking of Christianity. Jesus said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. We are people of truth. When we're wrong, we know that we have been forgiven much. When other people are wrong, we know that they can be forgiven through the power and the blood of Jesus Christ. When we're wrong, let's just go ahead and say that we're wrong and experience the consequences of what that means. And when we have forgiveness that has been greatly shown to us, we can actually show that to other people. There's a large debate that's going to be brewing perhaps this summer with people who are in favor of pro-life, pro-choice, the two sides of that volleying back and forth. I love the way that, some people have been saying that I'm pro-abundant life. Jesus came to give us abundant life. The thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I have come, Jesus said, that they may have life and life more abundantly. On this show, we're unapologetically pro-abundant life, and that life that is found only in Christ Jesus. But I want to make sure that we're the type of people who are also willing to hear from people, hear their experiences. And when they come and say, I was wrong about that, or I want to reconsider that, let's not clobber them over the head. When we're wrong about things, let's not puff our chest and say, you know what, I'm just going to double down because this is my position or my camp's position. Very important things that are in the news today. And I wanted to kind of do it in a lighthearted way, but I am very serious about the fact that we can say we're wrong, and we can experience other people saying that they're wrong because of the forgiveness that we've experienced in Christ Jesus. All right, it's the Erskin Music Show. Love all y'all. Come back tomorrow. We're going to do something even more fun. Erskin Music Show. I don't even know where my icon is anymore.